been in a bit of a post-Thanksgiving haze, for better and for worse. The good thing is that I finally painted the Desert Wizard piece in watercolor. Crackles here. I'm in the process of finding the main quest to become the artist I want to be, while balancing being a parent and other life responsibilities. This week has been full of domestic labor, lots of cooking and cleaning, but I'm not complaining. I have acquired enough experience points in life to make a decent roasted chicken and Japanese curry with the roasted chicken leftovers. Still trying to get the balance of everything figured out, as this is my first full week of transitioning toward returning to college. It's all about experience points and making a good pass at my personal sphere grid at this point. What you're seeing here is not the mentioned watercolor, but an additional page of reference I felt like I needed, and it acted as a nice warm-up to the final piece. I'm looking forward to moving on from this project and getting started with some other cool pieces of artwork I had in mind. I'm probably going to be jumping all over the place and making a bunch of fast and fun things, maybe even some fan art. Working on this project this week, I have learned that I really need to make some more things with watercolor again. I've become a bit rusty, but this is a great medium, and despite it being such a long time from really diving into it and working with it, it makes me happy to work with it again, so why not? In high school, there was a group of art students who had a really cool opportunity to take various workshops after school to learn from local artists. There was a range of disciplines. Portraiture was one, and there was a watercolor artist. That's who I paired up with. It was located at the Artist Workshop in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, which is located on the Atlantic Ocean side in Central Florida. It's also where I was born and went to school. Locals may or may not remember the location on Canal Street where artists would make art and do workshops on the second floor. I think now they have a satellite studio where the old high school building used to be, and the original location on Canal Street is mainly used for the displaying of artists' work, but it's been a while since I've been there, so they may have changed it again. The watercolor artist was fairly strict, and I tend to smile whenever I change out my water or stretch my paper from her terse demeanor. I know she cared a lot, so it's a positive memory. It's highly likely she didn't like my taste in anime at the time, since I was a total weeb, but she painted beautiful flowers and put up with me anyway. I do wish I could at least have the courtesy to remember her name, since she was so incredible for putting up with my youthful artistic cringiness. It is a fond memory, and I was very fortunate to have exposure to a group of local artists like that while growing up. I still remember how to use watercolor, but honestly, only the basics. Hopefully I can brush up and build more proficiency over the next year. My eventual painting goal is to work with oil paints like illustrators and artists of old, but I have a more residential setup and limited materials budget at the moment. Story of my life, I suppose. Possibly for others as well. So if that's you, hang in there and take one day at a time. I think it's still important to have a goal and dream of who you want to be, regardless of age. For me, before I paint killer stuff in oils, I feel like I need to train more with my draftsmanship skills so they really sing when I use them. School will be helpful with this too, I'm sure. My watercolor setup is pretty basic, but that is by design. I know a lot of other YouTubers who have super classy setups, but I'm a bit more pragmatic than that. Hopefully that's okay with you. These half pan sets by Winsor Newton work well for me, since my family occasionally likes to go outside for activities like fishing, and then I get to make casual attempts of plein air painting. It's less stressful than illustrating, and I feel like the environments are usually doing the visual heavy lifting, and I just have to go outside and do my best to capture it. The form factor is great, as long as I don't accidentally drop them or flip them over. Setup is fast and easy, gravity permitting. Composing an illustration can be complex since you're generating an image from reference, experience, blood, sweat, and tears to tell a story. It's all good because I'm down to make a few hundred more pieces like this, and it's okay if I miss the bullseye completely and make notes on what I need to improve. This wizard, for instance, has been a great lesson in my expectations and project managing ability. Lots of things to critique here. So, as I look at this again, I'll share 3 things I think went well and 3 that I think I can work on for future projects. But before I do, I'll describe quickly the process that I used for making this piece. First, I made tiny thumbnails. From those, I picked a composition to make into a bigger sketch using colored pencil. Then, I doodled in watercolor for color ideas and concepts. Later, I made additional drawings and model sheet doodles of the character before setting off on an expected journey into my hot-pressed Etchr watercolor sketchbook. As a bonus sketchbook caveat, these are amazing watercolor sketchbooks. A bit expensive, but worth it in my opinion. I backed the original Kickstarter when these originally dropped and still have blank pages and several books waiting to be filled up. That's when I was working at a factory and had a bit more expendable income to grab supplies. I was exhausted all the time, keeping me from making art, but now I have a great stash to paint in. No regrets. Okay, so back to the 3 things I would improve. They are the ideation process, the layout, and the values. As a DM, I love the idea of an NPC meeting people in a desert setting. However, as an artist, I probably should have made a few additional studies of desert settings and more than 1 character model sheet of this wizard. I used references from several westerns, Morocco, and photos of other desert landscapes to try and flesh out this idea more. But I should have spent more time planning and researching, since I think the concept would have been a bit more magical with a little extra effort. The layout of the final probably should have been a variant of the sketch in colored pencil, but I ignored my instincts and changed it for the final. It made the experience feel more like it was going uphill. I was totally vibing with the original concept, but changed it because I thought it would read better instead of being more fun and adventurous. The values weren't on point. A lot of that has to do with the noodling I was doing throughout the entirety of the final piece. I was too detail specific and should have made more of an effort to model out the composition and plan shadow shapes more strategically. That is a rookie move and something I was more mindful of in my final sketch instead of my final piece. I am my own work in progress, I suppose. 3 things I think I did well were the sky, specifically the gradient I was able to pull off, the wizard, and moving the moon during the lay-in process. The sky was actually a very satisfying couple of washes. Sometimes it's just the little things. The clouds were also fun shapes, and now I want to draw and paint like 5 more pages of just clouds. They're so much fun. This wizard may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I like him a lot. Magic users tend to be a bit delicate, but not this guy. Sort of like a knight enchanter from Dragon Age. He is out roving the city's territory and will protect it, whether it is from would-be villains or a classic giant scorpion quest hook. Let me know what you think his opening dialogue would be for a character introduction and what his voice would sound like in the comments below. So I wanted to try and illustrate Earthshine for this piece. And Earthshine is this really cool thing that light bounces off of the surface of the Earth at sunset onto our moon as the sun's going down. And so you'll see the crescent moon, but you'll also see this really pretty ghostly image of the rest of the moon as the sun is setting. That's something I've always enjoyed. I'm sure you've seen it before. It just depends on the time of year and your geographic location. The scale of the moon is supposed to make it feel a tad more otherworldly. Not gonna lie, I did think about 90s Sailor Moon anime backgrounds at least one time during this painting session. I hope to make more illustrations like these and get back into the swing of working with watercolor because despite the design pitfalls, this was pretty enjoyable to work on. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and go heat up some leftover curry and rice, but I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please consider liking and subscribing for more of my future art projects. Please take care, and I hope to see you again soon.